Let's talk all things forearm, elbow, all the way down into the wrist, and a couple things that I see misdiagnosed frequently, or just maybe not driven all the way back to the root as far as being an explanation. So let's go ahead and zoom in. I'm going to focus on this elbow region first. So I'm going to zoom on into there. So this nerve right here that I already have highlighted, let's actually go to its entire path. So this is a branch of your radial nerve. So let's just see, let's take note where it starts out of a cervical spinal nerve root, then it comes down, comes on the front side of the shoulder blade, makes its way around right underneath the tricep, and then where it comes out, it comes around that outside of the elbow, and then it takes a couple different dives. The section that I have highlighted, it dives through some muscles and comes here, and then you can see where that branch is cut off. There is another section. So what I want to do is let's talk about where this nerve, let's take the muscles off. We'll be able to see it a little bit better. Where it gets hung up, where it gets kind of caught between muscle tissue, and why it can lead to irritation all the way down the length of the forearm. Before we do that though, let's back it up just a little bit here. Okay. Radial nerve. This is the original branch off of it. So same thing we just talked about, comes down. When I say radial for the rest of this, I'm meaning the main radial branch, and then we'll just be talking about it as far as the branches that stem off of it as well. But where you can see right here, okay, the main radial nerve origin, where it gets to the elbow, when we go and we add on muscles, right here, you see where that can get squished basically by your forearm muscles. It goes and it takes a dive right in between your brachioradialis. So they call this, the drinking muscle. So if you are holding a cup in your hand and bending your elbow, that is the muscle that's going to fire. Okay, and it crisscrosses over with these bicep muscles. So if we go back, and we are looking at where people tend to have pain when they get diagnosed as like, oh, let's call it tennis elbow or something like that, where that muscle lives and where it crosses over that nerve, and then it takes those dives that I was telling you about. When it takes, let me zoom in a little bit more to click on it, takes one dive and it comes this way, takes another and it goes deeper, and then it takes an even deeper dive and continues on underneath, and it goes the entire length of your forearm and then comes all the way down to this side of your wrist and comes down to your thumb. Okay, so frequently I hear people being diagnosed with lateral epicondylitis, tennis elbow, but they don't look at the entire chain of this nerve, so I think it's very important. Now, when I am screening someone for elbow pain, I'm always going to look lower and I'm always going to look higher for those exact reasons. So let's take another look at another muscle or another nerve that's down in here. So this one does sensory. Sorry, I know it's a little weird seeing the rest of the body on here. Let's get us to just an arm model and get rid of the rest of that. Okay, so let's come back up into here. So this one that is highlighted, this does all things sensory. So whenever I say sensory, that's pain. And you can see this hits right along where people complaining of tennis elbow would experience their pain. But that branches off of that same radial nerve that I was just talking about. So things we just need to pay attention to. So I'll tend to do a lot of soft tissue work, the entire length of that nerve. I will also address the neck from where everything stems off of. We'll also look back here where that nerve comes from. Because again, let's look at origins of things. Starts at the neck, comes down, and if we flip it around, you can see it goes right through the back of that shoulder and then comes down through the tricep. So hopefully that's helpful, just giving an overview of why I do not like to only go with the diagnosis of tennis elbow, because technically what tennis elbow is, let's put on all the muscles. So tennis elbow, if you can see where all of these guys connect at the same spot, it's a tendinitis and an irritation where it attaches. But typically that is a lot of wear and tear, a lot of trauma. And it's very possible. It's very possible to have tendonitis as well as other nerve irritation. I just like to be a little bit more aware of everything else in the area. Now, if we were to continue on in people that complain of forearm pain and thumb pain, where you saw this radial nerve come down, this muscle, which is responsible for taking your thumb out away from your body, right? And then this guy and deep in here. So this one also helps move the thumb back and forth. It pulls it in. Those are all supplied by either your radial nerve that we just talked about or another nerve on the other side of your arm called your ulnar nerve that comes in and feeds these muscles. So again, I just like to look up the chain a little higher. We'll always work on strengthening the muscles involved. So same for when I was talking about that elbow pain. We will always work on strengthening everything in the area, but we'll also be looking at nervous system.